So, hi everybody, welcome to our interview today with Alan Clark. Hi Alan.
Hi Marie, how are you?
I'm great, thank you. How are you getting on today?
Very good, very good. Yeah, I've enjoyed our pre-podcast conversation, so very much looking forward to this 30 minutes.
Well, for our listeners that are listening in, I'll just say to you that Alan looks super prepared today because he's got these amazing headsets and mic on. So he looks a bit Britney Spears. Whether he's going to burst into song through the interview, we'll have to find out. But
Well, I might do that. I might just do that with Britney Spears with a male Scottish accent and see how that goes.
That's a thought. So, Alan, to be serious for a moment, tell me who you are and what it is you do.
So, my name is Alan Clark, and I would describe myself professionally as an executive and business coach. I've been doing that professionally as my own business for about 3 years. I help leaders in organization create the change that they desire. And that can be internally in terms of beliefs, emotions, mindsets, we call it, externally in terms of results, performance. And I do a very similar thing for business owners and entrepreneurs. And I also am very passionate about leadership development, and I create my own leadership development programs and experiences. So, but in a nutshell, that's what I do.
Fabulous. Well, we're going to explore in a bit more detail about some of that. For the people that are watching and listening in, Alan, what's your business called?
Exponential Coaching.
Fantastic. I'm glad that's easy for you to say, but it's fabulous. It's fabulous brand name. But so for those people that are listening in, if you want to find Alan, you can look for Expodential Coaching. Is that right? Have I got it right?
No, you're just spot on. So the exponential, it plays to rapid rate of change, and through good quality coaching, I believe that is an option for people. So that's why I picked the name.
That sounds perfectly reasonable as to why you would, and it explains what it is on the tin. So tell me a bit about your career. How have you come to be a coach? And why did you choose business development?
Okay, no, brilliant question. So very, very quick summary of my career is I qualified as a pharmacist in the mid 1990s up in Glasgow, Strathclyde University, and I chose Boots to go in and do my pre-reg, as it's called, and then I stayed with them for about 23 years,
Wow.
of which after the second year of me being a competent pharmacist and not doing too much damage with drugs, I was offered an opportunity to look after a store manager, a store, when the store manager went on maternity leave. And I quickly realized that I had a passion for selling number 7 makeup and fragrance and sales targets as I did pharmacy. And what happened, Marie, then in the 23 years, I became a store manager and then looked after bigger stores and like the full shooting match with beauty and pharmacy and care homes. And then became an area manager and then a regional manager. And then, in round about 2013, I went on a sort of fast track to exec senior leadership development program, it was called. And it was a wonderful experience. And I got outside Glasgow for the first time working, so doing some project work down southwest and London. Really, really enjoyed it. It was much warmer. Decided that yes, there is a life outside Glasgow. And at the same time, I was experiencing, as part of the program, executive coaching for the first time, and had some wonderful conversations in Nottingham with an executive coach that was managing to get right into my beliefs and my feelings and emotions and helping me with them and create insights that I could then put into action to evoke change and performance, etc. And I loved it. And at that point, I guess that's where I started to think, do you know what? I'd love to do this as a profession. And then what happened was I was offered to head up boots opticians for England, Wales, and Ireland, 2014. So we moved out of Glasgow because it's much easier to do that when you're actually in the countries. So we came down to Worcestershire, where we've been ever since, and you know, love it down here. And in 2017, I decided to actually become a professional coach, and got the best training I could with barefoot coaching, and also did a 9-month American experience as well in coaching. So got the British psychological coaching and the American spiritual coaching, and blended it all together, and then started exponential coaching, and I've just been practicing my skills ever since. So that's there you go. That's it.
Yeah, and really brave of you to take that leap into being self-employed and being a coach. And I can see that your passion for coaching come out of managing a massive team, really.
That's right. There's a Goleman. Daniel Goleman is an American leadership consultant, done a lot of work in emotional intelligence, etc. And he's got a sort of 6, the Goleman model of leadership, and one of them is coaching, and that was my dominant style. You know, I always had that element of it in, and you know, so for me, there wasn't a massive transaction. Yes, I needed to get properly trained and understand it, and it's subtly different when you're coaching somebody to when you're their boss. Of course it is.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of skills that were definitely transferable and that were within me that made it easier to then step in and do that. And the exec coaching, I find it helpful that I've got an experience of leading at a pretty high level across a large area with a lot of teams when I'm coaching execs in big leadership positions. Whilst it's not, you don't need it per se, I think it helps the richness of the conversation.
Totally agree. And so I can imagine with the pandemic, etc., you've moved to providing a lot of your services online. So my question is, what do you think are the biggest opportunities for businesses sort of as we come out of this pandemic, potentially, hopefully soon?
I think the biggest opportunities for every business right now is genuinely to get really clear on what they do and why people should care, and just decide how they can become even better and better, more useful in that space, whatever their service or product is.
Yeah.
Far too often, myself included, you just go, life's a blur, busyness rules, and there is something counterintuitive in really slowing down and connecting and creating a space for you that asks that question, like what are we doing as a business, and why should people care? And if you ask these 2 questions, you probably get some good insights that you can then use to strengthen what you do. And I talk about in my business coaching a lot about client and customer astonishment. And the more that you are genuinely astonishing your customers or your client as a business, for me, that opens up a competitive advantage. It opens up new possibilities. And it does, whilst you can't, and we know this in the pandemic, guarantee anything, there is no such thing as certainty. What it definitely gives you clarity on how you can astonish customers and clients, and that is usually a good thing. So
I really like that. Astonish your customers. That's fantastic. And I can imagine there's a lot of new businesses sort of coming up as well. And so if you can start with that sort of premise in mind to astonish your customers, then I think that's a really good pathway to take. Really like that. I really like that one.
Oh no, thank you. But the other thing that's great then for businesses, of course, you own that.
Yeah.
And that's some of that can take away a chunk of the fear or anxiety or worry of how it might pan out. I might not have any customers. We lose 50% of them, etc. And all these are real concerns. But if you take that as one of your top strategies, how can we get, now that I've got clarity, how can we get even better? Then that's empowering. You own that, and that's a positive thing, I think.
I totally agree. And that's the whole premise, I think, of having a business coach there as your sounding board and to help support you in your path. So, yeah, absolutely. Now, I'm thinking we met, I think it was probably three years ago now at a Sterling network that you run. Now, I know that you're still involved very much with Sterling Rapids and you run it, but you're also involved in something else that sounds really exciting. Do you want to tell us a bit more about your involvement with Sterling?
Yeah, so very much. I mean, I'm a group leader of the Worcester Rapids group, and it's a brilliant group. We meet every second Wednesday actually, and fantastic relationships, really diverse group of people and businesses. So that's fab. I'd recommend that to anyone. But
yeah,
the other thing I'm in partnership with Sterling is something called Sterling Advance. And it's been in existence probably for about 11 months now. And what it is it's a monthly meeting, 2.5 hours. And at its core is an intent to bring businesses together, business leaders together, to allow groups to form, no more than 12 people that really support each other, can challenge each other, are there for each other to help them grow, both in terms of their leadership and business performance. And the structure's around two sort of main events in the meeting. One is a mastermind.
Right.
People get, you either have one person who's got a challenge or an opportunity that they want to bring to the group, and then we tap into the collective wisdom in the group, which has led to some incredible outcomes for people. Actually, it's brilliant to see. Or it's a bit more fluid, where maybe there's the coach will facilitate. So maybe there's 3 or 4 or 5 people bring something in that time. So either's in existence, and then a master class, which is an opportunity to bring something of usefulness for a leader in business to then put into action in their own life, their own business, and get results. And that's like anything there. But it's definitely got a dual purpose of advance the relationships of the people to support growth, and then specifically growing the individual leadership and growing the business performance. So we've called that's called Sterling Advance playing to going forward. And at the moment, we've got 3 groups and big plans. So we're in the big plan and want to make it even more useful than it is right now.
Well, that sounds fantastic. Alan, out of interest, is that for small business leaders, entrepreneurs, or can it be for bigger business leaders, CEOs, that type of thing?
Yeah, I would say all of the above. I genuinely would come and try it out. So there's myself who very much is in the space working with small businesses, large businesses, CEOs,
Yeah.
organizations. And we've got two other very experienced leadership business coaches in terms of Jason French and
Yes.
Shane Spears. And you know what? Again, working in these circles. So we've got the experience in terms of the coaches to be able to create an experience any what's the word part of business.
Yeah.
So yeah, I know that's a slightly vague answer, but what I'm trying to say is that I don't want to niche it. I just, if anyone's got an interest in growing themselves, growing the business, and being part of a supportive engine room of growth, then I'd love people to come in and have an experience, and that's what you can do. You can connect and have an experience and see if it works for you or not.
Yeah, absolutely. Now I know Jason French because his business is the Business Doctor. Am I right?
That's right. Yes.
And Jane, who's Jane? Have I met Jane
Sorry,
before?
that's my Glaswegian accent. Shane.
Oh,
Shane.
sorry.
No, not at all. No, that's me. No, Shane is a coach. Now I don't know where Shane actually lives, but it's more further. It's more south, so Gloucestershire, Bath, that type area.
Okay.
Sorry, Shane. I should really know where you
That's
exactly
me.
live.
That was me.
Yeah.
So he's a business coach too.
Yes,
Right. Okay.
yes, and he deals with a lot of global clients, etc. So a lot of experience that Shane's got as well.
So some fantastic business coaches there, Alan. How do people find out about it? Where do they find the information?
They go onto the website at Sterling Advance, or reach out to myself, Alan, at exponentialcoaching.co.uk, and I guess that is another it's another type of coaching. I do group coaching elsewhere, but this one is the one that's really focusing on the leaders on the business.
Right.
So yeah, reach out to me, go onto the website, and you'll get details there.
Fantastic. So now we've touched on coaching more. I want to know a bit more about your coaching philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
And what guides you in your work, because we all need some sort of focus when we're delivering sort of things like coaching. So what's your philosophy?
So I've got a context, Marie, that I use, and I use it in my coaching, and I use it in my leadership development, and it's a context for leaders. I first of all believe we're all leaders. And leadership's in two domains. It's leading self and leading others. And more often than not, certainly the literature, the courses, etc., are on leading others. And there's a huge gap about leading yourself.
Yeah.
And so first of all, I recognize there are two domains, and I bring that into my work. But I work to help people realize that in any situation or circumstance, they can create their desired level of change, performance, or outcome. And they can do that for themselves, or they can do that for others, or both. So the work that I do then, given that context for leadership, and there are a billion different contexts, I thought I would add in another one. But that is what I work with clients to. So we realized from the start that whatever the situation, and what a situation is a series of circumstances, and that can change all the time. So, which is why coaching, I think, is ongoing relevant, because context change, but the person is still creating, is still trying to bring change in on an ever-changing context. So the whole thing is about change in many ways. I guess I see myself as a catalyst to help people make that change and bring that change in. and the work and my frameworks are just that. So getting people, first of all, to create space, which is usually the coaching conversation.
Yeah.
I like a clearing to get to really clear on what it is they actually want. If that could be outcomes, performance, emotions, what is it we actually want and why, and then just going through the change and in actions and commitments and everything else that goes in the mix. We bring that that possibility that the client wants into reality, and that's the language that I use in my work.
Yeah, I totally get it. And I think historically we've had a lot of focus about leadership in relation to leading others. But I think you're absolutely right. It's about leadership's looking within, isn't it? And so my question is, so do you believe people really can change then?
It's a brilliant question. Yes, I do. I do. I actually do. I do. From my own experience, I know I've changed massively. And you don't always feel it, do you? But if I look back at Alan age 21 to Alan age 48, then there's oh my word. But in my work with clients, absolutely. A very deep thing to explore, and it is deep, is the power of context. And as when people say that how they perceive themselves is rooted in how they're describing themselves or context, and that from that perception literally becomes our mindset, our thoughts, our emotions that then go on to actions and performance. And it's that context, that's what we go at.
Yeah.
Change that context, change thyself. And there's a cause and effect going right the way through that. And that's the change pathway that I work on with people, and they change, and they do change. And a person that's now feeling differently and seeing the world differently and showing up differently tends to do different things, creating different outcomes, which I find that fascinating.
Yeah. So you're actually creating lasting change for leaders in your approach.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Yes.
I love all this. I find this such a fascinating topic. And I think we're sometimes we can get consumed with sort of achieving those massive goals, but it's the wins that you get from those, like you just said, the incremental changes that we need to celebrate more. So yeah, it's just absolutely fascinating. So in your role and in your business, Alan, could you recall a time when you have been felt most rewarded?
Yeah, I can see why you're doing this, Maria. Brilliant questions. Absolutely brilliant. Gosh, how to answer that? Yeah, yes, it can be in the biggest things. So somebody doubles their business, triples their business. But so fine, that's great. I love that. And that's part of the reason why I'm hired, you know? But it can also be in something like literally feeling different, much less anxiety, experiencing joy more consistently.
Yeah.
And literally they feel as if their life has changed from gosh, can you go any deeper than spirit from that perspective?
Yeah.
Relationships have improved massively. So there was one example of doing leadership development at an exec team, and 2 weeks later in a coaching session, kind of doing exec coaching as well, that two members of that exec team independently said that it had saved, it did say saved. What one was a marriage,
Oh,
and
wow.
the other one was a relationship with a child.
Wow.
In the work that we were doing, which is very much on perception and context and how that actually flows out to outcomes, and that was in a big corporate. And to get that, you just think, gosh, I mean, it's emotional when you connect with that, and that is why the philosophy of the human being and the business, both are valid. And in this case, it didn't matter that they had these big grand job titles. The insights they used in their life,
Yeah.
as well as their company.
Yeah.
So
Well,
yeah,
we're all people, aren't we?
of
But
course.
that sounds just astonishing, really, that, the work that you're doing in businesses is having positive impacts in people's everyday lives.
Mm-hmm.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible. So, I'm just looking at our time. We could talk and talk. It's so fascinating. I think the whole leadership coaching and the executive coaching is just such an area for opportunities for people to grow.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to know a bit more about who inspires you. You've got all those years of experience of leading others. So who is it that you look up to, and it can be anybody. It could be, somebody close to you. It could be a celebrity, for example.
I mean, again, oh gosh, we could talk all day. We just start with that one. I think so. So to answer that at a level, human beings inspire me. They do, and that isn't just one throwaway comment. It really isn't. People that I work with inspire me. You inspire me. Human beings. Inspiration is there, that for sure. If I was to pick like people in history that I've studied and looked at and really do move me, I would say first of all the ancient catalysts of change. So Buddha, Jesus, these guys that took people, changed perceptions, and people still talk about them. We're talking huge transformational changes over the entire world from their words and language, which I call context. So that the people like Buddha and Jesus for sure. And then, there is my favorite go-to person in the whole coaching space is a gentleman called Werner Erhard, who started the whole EST movement, which was the transformational California movement in the 1970s, which really did kick off a lot of modern day coaching and philosophy around coaching. He started that, and he had big, what's the word? He was inspired by Buddhism in that perspective, but he's about 85 now. And I love, I'm just going to show you a book, one of his book, Speaking Being. His work's all about being and ontology, which is the study of being. And I love his work, and I use that in my work as well, and inspired by that. So I always find if I read him for half an hour, I'm bouncing about, full of possibilities. So yeah. But I think you ask a brilliant question, because human beings, when they are inspired, are better.
Yeah.
They are. So everyone can find somebody that inspires them. Find somebody that inspires you. Get the energy levels up.
Absolutely.
and go and make a difference from that.
Absolutely. And
Standpoint.
look, can you just remind me, sorry, who's the name of the gentleman and what is his book? Just so that for those people that are listening in.
Oh, so that book is so Werner, Werner.
Yeah.
Erhard, Erhard. And the book it's a sort of one of his I think it was a 1985 seminar involving 800 people in the States somewhere. It's one of his transformational courses. It's actually a transcript of it.
Yeah.
But it's also got two PhD two professors. I think I've linked him to a philosopher called Martin Heidegger, and in between that, it's Martin Heidegger's thoughts and how they are very, very similar to Werner Erhard's, and that's the whole point of the book. But look him up. I love what he says, and it really does get me thinking. And I would say it's pretty liberating and uplifting.
And honestly, you're so passionate. You can absolutely tell, and you've got such high energy levels. How can anybody sort of want to join you on your path? It sounds fantastic. It really does. And I've so enjoyed our time today. It's absolutely flown past. I've got so many other questions, and I'm sure a lot of our audience will too. So what I would say is that we're running a Twitter hour now on a Friday that comes out after our podcast on a Tuesday. So if you've got any questions for Alan, then you can join us at 1:30 on Friday at Advance Well Hour with a hashtag in the front. And Alan will hopefully be joining us for our Twitter takeover at 1:30. So Alan, It's been a sheer delight today. Thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, you're very, very welcome. I've loved it. And like you, I cannot believe it's 40 minutes have gone since I showed up in your Zoom screen. So it's, but thank you so much for your time, and your questions were brilliant.
How can people contact you, Alan?
Oh, thank you. So email or telephone number, email address, probably. I know that's probably not the most high tech nowadays, but Alan, ALAN at exponentialcoaching.co.uk. Or my mobile, will I say my mobile number? Is that okay?
Yeah, if you're happy to.
Yeah, of course. 0782 483 7636. And I've got a website as well, which is www.exponentialcoaching.co.uk. So that's 3 ways to contact me.
That sounds fabulous. Right, so if you want to reach out to Alan, then, you're looking at new executive coaching and you're a leader of an organisation, you need Alan's help, then reach out to him. Thanks very much for today, Alan.
Thanks, Marie. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye. Bye.